Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to my channel, CineRam. I am watching the films of Alfred Hitchcock, some of his best-known suspense thrillers, many of which I've not seen before. And for this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about Shadow of a Doubt, which came out in 1943. Pull my notes right here. So there was a featurette on this disc talking about how it was another American film. From Hitchcock, whereas the previous movie, Saboteur, took place in a bunch of different locations. This one really focused more on small town America and what some of the players described as the innocent Americans, the ones that really aren't, kind of clueless about the nasty things that happen in the world. Kind of like Blue Velvet, I guess. Kind of reminded me of Blue Velvet, the David Lynch movie, where suburbia is sort of like on the surface, whereas there's the dark underground. And the dark underground in this case comes in the form of a character played by Joseph Cotten, named Charles Oakley. He's got a shady past. He's trying to escape some consequences of his actions, it would seem. And he comes to Santa Rosa, California, where his older sister and her husband and their kids live. Uncle Charlie, as he's called, is a very, very popular guy. He's very amiable. He brings lots of gifts. Everyone's happy to see him, especially the eldest daughter, who is also named Charlie. Charlotte is her name, but she's called Charlie actually after her uncle. And Charlotte is very, very happy to see her uncle. She's so bored with suburban life, she feels like nothing happens of any exciting sort in her town and in her family. Basically, it's just sort of business as usual. There's school and there's church and there's all this other stuff, and she's just like, I wish something exciting would happen. And then she gets word that Uncle Charlie's coming to visit, and she's just like, yay, Uncle Charlie is such an exciting guy. And when he comes, he brings a lot of gifts. He gives Charlotte, his niece, an emerald ring. And there's some question as to where he got this from exactly, because there's an inscription inside the ring itself that he can't really account for. But as he is settling in and opening a bank account and thinking about maybe getting a place of his own in Santa Rosa, he's trying, of course, to hide his past from his sister and the rest of his extended family. Something bad happened. He's trying to escape something, and he starts trying to hide newspaper articles so people won't ask him about it. And of course, eventually his past catches up with him. There's a couple of guys who arrive in town and tell the his sister, Uncle Charlie's sister Emma, that they are conducting a nationwide survey, and they've been selected as like a typical American family, and they want to interview them about their family and all the members and everything like that. And Uncle Charlie is immediately suspicious of them and wonders if maybe they're investigating him or something that he might have done. He's very, very particular about not having his picture taken. He doesn't want to talk to these guys. And he's right to be suspicious, because as it turns out, they're actually detectives. They are investigating the case of what they call a man who basically marries and kills older widows. And they think that he might be the guy, and so that's why they've come to town, because he's like one of their primary suspects. I'm not really sure if they're detectives in terms of being a cop, or whether they're private eyes. I think they're probably with a police department, but I don't think that was really spelled out very clearly in the dialogue. As things go on, young Charlotte starts to get a little suspicious herself. She's like an older teen. She's in high school. And she's, got a lot of admiration. Some would say an inappropriate amount of admiration for her uncle, but eventually starts to see something's wrong here. She starts to get suspicious, and Uncle Charlie does everything he can to neutralize her suspicions, but eventually he starts to see her as a threat, and that could be very bad for not only her, but also her family. About some of the actors in this movie. Joseph Cotten was a name that I recognized right away, but although I couldn't remember what I'd seen him in before. Turns out he was in Citizen Kane. I'm not really familiar with a lot of the actors in Citizen Kane and the Orson Welles troupe as having been in other stuff other than Orson Welles films. So this is one of the first times I recall seeing one of those actors in something else. Of course, I mean, it's, obviously he went on to do other films. Orson Welles did with a variety of different actors, most notably Anthony Perkins. But yeah, that's what I knew him from. He played the drama critic Jed Leland in Citizen Kane. He was also in The Magnificent Ambersons, which is another Welles movie, Duel in the Sun, and the notorious film Gaslight, which is where we get the term, gaslighting from. Charlotte Newton, the eldest daughter in the family, this was actually her fourth film. She was pretty young at the time. She was born in 1918, and this movie came out in 1943. Oh, so she would have been in like her 20s. And she eventually got an Oscar for Mrs. Miniver. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. She was nominated like 3 different times. And she was also in a classic called The Best Years of Our Lives. And some of the other noteworthy actors in this include Hume Cronyn, who you probably are familiar with in movies like Cocoon and Brewster's Millions. He was married to Jessica Tandy for 52 years. And this was one of his first parts. Actually, no, this was his first film, actually. He went on to appear in another Hitchcock movie, Lifeboat, and The Postman Always Rings Twice, which is another classic. And I know him, obviously from his later years, but, I would never have recognized him. If I hadn't known that he was Hume Cronyn, I wouldn't have recognized him just by looking at him in the picture. I wanted to mention also an actress named Janet Shaw, who plays a character named Louise. She kind of stood out to me because Louise basically is a woman who's the same age as Charlotte, only she doesn't go to school anymore. And she basically is, there's a scene where Uncle Charlie takes Charlotte to kind of a disreputable gin joint. And they sit down in a booth because he wants to talk with her. He wants to sort of find out what she knows or what she suspects. And Louise is a server in the restaurant. And she says, "Oh, hi, Charlie, it's nice to see you. We went to school together. I've been fired from like 7 different restaurants and pubs. What can I get you?" And her voice, her delivery of her voice is just so sort of flat and sort of emotionally distanced from everything. She sees the emerald ring because Charlie's suspicious of the emerald ring, and she's like, "Where did this come from?" And she lays it on the table. And Louise, when she brings the drinks over, looks at the ring and goes, "Oh my goodness, what an incredibly beautiful ring! This is amazing." And I'm just like, this is like, she kind of reminded me of Aubrey Plaza. I was looking at her filmography. She's done like. She acted from like 1937 to 1950, but I didn't recognize any of their films that she's been in. I didn't recognize the titles, so presumably she didn't have like the kind of career that people remember nowadays. But I just thought it was kind of interesting to see a performance like that in a film like this, whereas most of the other actors, they emote very sort of broadly, sort of, is the kind of the style, I guess. And also there's a young actress who only appeared in 7 movies. She plays the youngest daughter in the family, and she's not very good. She has a scene early on where she's on the telephone, and she doesn't, the actress basically, her name is Edna Mae Wanacott. She doesn't give the person on the other end of the call enough time to actually say anything. She just barrels ahead with all her lines and then hangs up. It's kind of funny, but yeah, not the most talented young actor in history, in cinema history. I like this movie. This movie was pretty good. I have it didn't make a strong impression on me. I was really creeped out by the relationship between the uncle and young Charlotte, because she seems to have like a little crush on her uncle, and he's clearly not a guy to be trusted. And he demonstrates this over and over again. And when things really start to get bad, when he suspects Charlotte knows much more than he's comfortable with, there are a couple of, she has a couple of accidents, that she wonders maybe aren't accidents, and things get kind of hairy. But everybody loves him. Everybody else thinks that he's the bee's knees, and he's embraced by the town. And he's very, gregarious and just charming, and everybody's friend. And this makes things difficult, of course, for young Charlotte, because she figures, like, you know, no one will believe me if I bring this stuff up. If I'm really suspicious that this guy has done something wrong, who can I tell? You know, I certainly can't tell my mom, you know, who is Uncle Charlie's sister, you know, because it'll just break her heart to think that there's anything bad about her younger brother. She looks up to him so much. So she's in kind of a tight spot right there. I like the acting in general, pretty much. You know, you know, it's a decent script. Yeah, I don't have real strong feelings about it one way or the other. I saw this film actually last week. It just took me a long time to get around to making a video about it. I just sort of missed opportunities to do that. So I'm sort of playing catch up here. And although I remember specific things about the film itself and about particular scenes and particular moments, I don't really recall at this point having a strong reaction to it either way. It's not a bad film, you know, it's a good film, but you know, I've reacted much more strongly to other films that I've seen from Hitchcock so far in this series. You know, I'm looking forward to getting to the later films. They're still all in black and white, you know. I'm looking forward to getting to the later films that I've already seen and more familiar with, because some of these movies I'm just going into blind. And I find oftentimes when I go into a movie knowing nothing about it, I retain a bit less about it because I haven't prepared myself mentally for the kind of story that I'm going to be seeing or the kind of plot that's going to unfold. You know, when I go see a theatrical movie, you know, I've seen advertisement, I've read about it, and you know, so I'm very prepared for a certain type of experience. Whereas most of these movies that I'm watching from Hitchcock that I've never seen before, all I know is that there's a suspense element of some kind, and that's it. I don't know a heck of a lot more about it, and so I end up kind of retaining less. So if I make the video sooner after I've seen the film, then maybe that will be helpful. We'll see. The next film I'm going to be looking at is Lifeboat. I'm planning on watching that actually right after I record this, and hopefully I can get a video recorded at least the next day, if not posted. So I hope you're looking forward to that. I've heard that it's very, very good, so that's exciting. Thanks very much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more of my Hitchcock videos, there's a link to the playlist below in the description, as is the link to my CineRam Facebook page, where you can find all my new videos shared there as well. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.